Hello, this is Gio. Hey, look what I have here. Hey, I've been getting ready for some camping trips, and so I've been taking out my camping equipment, and I took out my old Peak 1 multi-fuel stove. And this works on Coleman fuel, just like you see here, but it also can work on kerosene and other fuels. And I thought I would take this out and show you how to light it today. So again, this is a Peak 1 Coleman stove, and this particular model is model 550B. So these kind of stoves with the tank where you actually pour in liquid fuel are getting a little hard to find because the newer Coleman little stoves have a little fuel cartridge that you would kind of screw on, and when it's empty you would throw the little cartridge away. But this one, you actually fill up the tank with the Coleman fuel, and when it runs low you just refill it. Okay, so let's go over this stove. So of course this is the stove top. You would put your pans or what have you there. This is the tank right here. This is the little fill cap here. You'd unscrew that and fill it up with Coleman fuel or kerosene or what have you at hand. You'd probably need a little device to help get that fuel in there. This here is the little knob where you can kind of turn it from high to low, just like that. High, more fuel comes out, low, less. This is the valve body right here, and this little tube that comes up here is called the generator. Now this pipe that comes up and over here, it's actually designed to be over the flame, just like that, because the liquid fuel comes through here, and as it warms from the flame, it actually vaporizes and turns into a gas, and it's the nice gas that makes this flame, instead of burning yellow, it burns a nice blue. And of course the fuel, the vaporized fuel comes here and goes into the burner right here, and the flame comes out through these little burner elements right here. So now, of course, the Coleman fuel doesn't come out on its own. You actually need to put pressure in it, and here you get a little pump, which is right here, and it's closed in this case the clockwise position. And what you want to do is kind of rotate it counterclockwise like that. Take this little thing out. Put your thumb on this little hole. You see a little hole there. You want to put your thumb on that. Put your two fingers there, and when you do that, then you could pump it. And if there's no fuel in it right now, but if there was fuel, you'd pump this maybe, oh, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 times until you're starting to get some resistance from the pumping, and then that kind of indicates that you're kind of pressurizing this tank. And so with it pressurized, you would just close this, take your thumb off, you won't hear any gas leaking or anything, and turn this clockwise, and then it will just leave it there, and the tank is pressurized. So with the tank pressurized, what you want to do is turn this little black knob here from the opposition to the open and high. And if I had gas in here, you would start hearing possibly a hiss sound, and then you would take your match and light directly at the burner, and initially a yellow flame will probably come out. Again, it's on high, and that yellow flame is not what you're cooking on. That yellow flame will be heating the generator here, and eventually as the generator gets hotter and hotter, it's going to vaporize the fuel, and then you'll get more of a nice blue flame. Now that blue flame may take, a few seconds to a couple of minutes, depending on how cold your tank is and how cold your fuel is. If it's many degrees below freezing, well, it may take some time for that fuel to heat up and vaporize. So it kind of depends on the temperature, but you're looking at maybe 10 or 30 seconds. Okay, so in general, Coleman stoves run on Coleman fuel, and Coleman wants you to use their fuel, of course, but in this case, this Peak 1 stove can use kerosene as well. But in order to use kerosene, you need to install a different little generator. And it looks almost identical. This one's shinier since I've never really used it, and it basically goes in the same location. So you need to take this little top off. It has just a little screw, and then you would need to remove the Coleman generator and replace it with the kerosene generator. Now I do have some instructions here, and you can kind of see how the generator hooks up to this the valve portion here. It has this little generator needle that comes out, and you can see the needle right there if I could keep it focused. And so here the little needle is kind of recessed in the hole, but you take a nice little probe and you can kind of poke this thing out just like that. Don't take it all the way out, but just enough so you can hook up to this little block here. And then after it's kind of hooked up to that, then you'd put your little your nut and screw it down tight. Now the other thing with using kerosene over Coleman fuel is kerosene doesn't really burn at all well cold, so it'd be difficult to even get a yellow flame going. So if you're going to use kerosene, what you need to also do, other than replacing this little generator here, is you need to get yourself some preheating paste, which you can purchase either in sports stores or over Amazon, etc. And you need to apply the paste down in this little groove right here. It's just little like it's just a flammable paste, and you'd put it right here, and then you would light it, and it would burn for a time and preheat this the generator, the kerosene generator that you've installed there. And after a time, that will become warm enough so you can turn on the fuel. And if there's still paste burning, the stove should burn. If the paste is all burnt down, then you'll have to relight it. But you do need a preheating paste. But for Coleman fuel, you don't need that. You just get an initial yellow flame, and eventually it heats up and turns into a blue flame. So that's the benefit of using Coleman fuel. Okay, so let's bring this little stove outside and light it up and see how it works. Okay, so we are outside, and the first thing I want to do is add some Coleman fuel. Now you don't want to add fuel while this is hot. You want to wait until it's cool if you're adding fuel while you're cooking. And the first thing, you just want to open up the cap, and if it's under pressure you might hear a hiss, but as long as it's cold it will be fine. So we just twist this open, and there we go, it's ready to be filled. Put this down. We add our little nozzle here, and if you spill some of this fuel, it's generally okay as long as it's not a flame nearby, because it does tend to evaporate quickly. And then just replace the cap when you have fuel. Now I like to fill the tank up maybe either 2/3 or 3/4 full. I tend not to fill it up all the way. I kind of like to have some room to build up the pressure, but it's up to you. You can even fill it up just even 1/4 full if you don't want to use a lot of fuel. But the less fuel you have in there, the more you're going to have to pump to generate enough pressure. Okay, so next we are going to add the pressure to the tank. We turn this little handle counterclockwise. We lift it up, put your thumb on the little hole there, and then start pumping. Okay, so I am starting to feel resistance with the pump, indicating that I am getting pressure in the tank. And so after, this is about good resistance, and so I'm just going to screw it clockwise until it's locked, and then you're ready to go. Okay, so we have pressure in the tank. The control knob is on off, and I'm just going to use a match here, but you could also use a lighter, and I'm just going to turn it on to the open position until you kind of hear a hiss. You'll hear the fuel start coming out, and then I'm going to light it and light the burner right here. And there you go. You have an initial yellow flame, and as the generator heats up, it'll start turning blue. The yellow flame is starting to die down there, and you're getting more of a nice hot blue flame. Now if you don't feel you have enough pressure going out at this stage, you can open up the pump again and add some pressure. Lock it up. So if you cook for a while and you're noticing the flame is dying down, you could always add additional pressure, but don't add fuel. You don't want to add fuel while it's burning or the stove is hot. So I pumped it up quite a bit to get some pressure in there, and you can kind of see how nice cleanly it's burning. It's generating a lot of heat. I just put my hand here and it's extremely hot. If you want it's still on high, you can turn it down with this knob. To reduce the flame so you can maybe simmer something. Okay, that's at the lowest setting there. And then you can always turn it up high again. And there you have it. Now after you've cooked, now this should be good, especially with a good tank. You fill it even halfway. That should be enough for a meal, to cook a meal. But when you're done, you just want to turn this on to the off position. And then you might get a little flame. Eventually they'll burn off. When it's off, it's just burning residual fuel that's in the system. And eventually you'll just conk out like that. And then you want to wait for it to cool down before you depressurize the tank and pack it away for your next meal. And there you go. That is how you operate and light a Peak 1 Coleman stove. Now just to clarify, they've been making these Peak 1s for decades, and there are different models. Again, this one is the 550B. There are other models which actually have a lighting lever that you have to move before you actually light it, and then you move it back. But in general, this is how they look and operate. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit that like button at the bottom of the screen, and even consider subscribing to my channel. I have many more videos to come. Bye-bye.